and welcome to Dice Jesters. My name is Julie.
And my name is Dave.
And we are a merry and whimsical board gaming podcast where we dive deep into games with curious minds and a jester's grin. We feature 10 by 10 challenges where each season we commit to playing 10 games at least 10 times. And today we have a jester's joust for you. And that joust is Race for the Galaxy versus San Juan.
Yes.
Yeah.
A joust.
You
Let the
picked
joust
this.
begin.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, you tell me.
I thought season 4 was done. You know, we did our 10 by 10 challenge. We did our ranking. We even did our top 10 games of all time. And we're in the process of kind of getting things ready for season 5 and trying to figure out what's in store and getting that all planned out. But there's been something, Julie, that's been lingering out in the fringes of my consciousness.
What?
That have just been driving me a little nuts that I've wanted to get to the bottom of. And that is, which game do we like more? San Juan or Race for the Galaxy?
San Juan.
Which game is a better game?
San Juan.
This has been a hotly contested debate.
Against who?
The world, the people.
Oh.
The people. And I've gone back and forth on this. We did our top 10 games of all time, and both games were on my list. I think San Juan was like number 5 or 6. They were close together.
Okay.
And over time, I've wavered on this. I've thought, San Juan is a better one. No, Race for the Galaxy is a better one. So we played both of them. San Juan back in season 1 of our first 10 by 10 challenge that we did. I introduced you to San Juan because I was so excited. Fast forward to season 3, I'm like, now's the time for Race for the Galaxy. We played it, and I still loved it. You were kind of lukewarm on it because you lost. We'll get to that in a second. But
it's not because I lost.
I was convinced, like, hey, this is going to be a game that you're going to be really into. You just need to give it a chance. You need to dig into the strategic depths of what this game has to offer. And I think you're going to like it a lot. And I don't think that we really got to that point. And we played the 10 games. We moved on with our lives. And ever since then, I've wanted to go back to it and continue playing it, but also finding a way for us to talk about and compare these two games outside of just a standard 10 by 10 type of episode. So this is going to be a special kind of episode that's going to still be a deep dive of both of the games, and we're going to do it in a really interesting and fun way. But before we get into what that will entail, just a little bit of backstory about the two games. If you've never played them before, this is your first time. If you haven't listened to our previous episodes on them, maybe go back and give those a listen. But they're both card games that arose out of the original board game Puerto Rico, which originally was at one point the number 1 ranked game on Board Game Geek as a classic Euro game. And they wanted to develop a card game that was based off of that system, which is the whole action selection where you pick an action and everybody around the table gets to do that action, but you get to do it a little bit better. There's a little bonus, and wanted to develop kind of an economic simulation of that in the card game form, distilled down. So Andreas Seafarth was the designer of Puerto Rico, and he, alongside, and this is where the relationship between these two is a little bit fuzzy. I don't quite understand, but Tom Lehman is another board game designer, and I think he helped develop in the development process of the game, the card game version of Puerto Rico. And at some point, the two diverged, where Andreas Seafarth went on to design San Juan, and then Tom Lehman went on to design Race for the Galaxy. But they're both based off of the same DNA, and at the very least, Tom Lehman helped with the development process of San Juan. So they're both very similar. But where they diverge is San Juan is kind of a more approachable, lightweight, entry-level card game, I would say, maybe entry plus. And Race for the Galaxy has a much more steep learning curve and is a little bit challenging to get into. There's a lot to wrap your head around. And so that's kind of the main differences. But San Juan itself, I'll give a little bit between the two. San Juan was first published in 2004, and there was a second edition that was published in 2014. So it's remained popular over the years. Its current BGG rating is 434, so not like the highest rank that you can come across, but still not terrible. It was recommended for the Spiel des Jahres award, which is the Family Game of the Year award, really popular, like Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne, Catan, those have all won the Spiel des Jahres award, and was the winner of the Fair Play a la carte award. So it's won a couple of awards. And in terms of us, we've played it 27 times. And currently, you've won 14 and I've won 13. So we're pretty neck and neck.
I see.
In this challenge between the two. However, you have the current top score of 69. You're doing a little bit better in the game than me. Our average playtime is 25 minutes, and you currently have the longest win streak at 5 plays. So that's just a little bit to give you an idea of where we're at currently with the game. Race for the Galaxy came out a little bit later, came out in 2007, just a few years later, and currently is number 91 ranked on Board Game Geek. So if we talk to the people, they would say, according to BGG ranking, which is totally subjective, that Race for the Galaxy is the better game. And it's won more awards. It's won the Board Game Geek Golden Geek Award. It's won the Meeple's Choice Award. It's won, and it was inducted recently into the Board Game Geek Hall of Fame. So it's a pretty highly esteemed game. It's had other games come out that were kind of sequels to it, like Roll for the Galaxy, New Frontiers, and Jump Drive. We're all kind of in that similar galaxy or universe, I guess you could say. Nice. We've only played it 11 times. Mm-hmm. We played it for the first time in our Season 3 10x10 challenge. I've won 9 times, you've won 2. I currently have the high score of 57. Average play time 24 minutes, so a little faster. And I currently have the longest win streak of 5 plays. So... Oh,
you only won 5 plays in a row?
In a row, I think. Yeah, because you've won it twice. So I think you won one round at one point, and then you broke the streak. And then I think you won the final game of...
Well, I know I won the final game because I decided to race you. Literally raced you to that galaxy.
Yeah, raced me to the galaxy. So... That was just a little bit of where we're at with those 2 games in terms of within the hobby where it stands. So let's just go through where are our current opinions about both of these games. Mm-hmm. We'll start with San Juan.
Love it.
What do you like about it? Because we've played it so many times.
I like because is Race for the Galaxy technically a tableau building game as well?
They both are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know they both are, but I don't view San Juan as a tableau building game. It's just not processing in my head as a tableau building game, nor do I see it as a tableau building game. So because of that, I don't have this weird barrier that I created for myself, and I can just play the game as is, and I'm more comfortable with it. So I don't know. I also like for San Juan how it's straightforward. There's no symbols that other games don't have, and the symbols that they do have, it's pretty self-explanatory. The action cards tell you what's going on, and you're like, the ones in Race for Galaxy, and I'm like, I don't know, they're confusing though.
You have to learn a whole language.
Yeah, I feel like I'm learning another language with that one. So with San Juan, I do feel that it's more player friendly, and I personally have, as you call it, my like holy trinity or whatever with
the Chapel Bacon Harbor.
Yeah, so when I get all those, that's when I score pretty high, and that's when I feel successful in the game. You're like, you didn't really say what's good about the game. You just kind of said what specifically good about what you like in the game. I'm like, yeah, but that's what makes it good for me. That's what makes it good.
It's a fun one to come back to. We recently did come back and play it a few times within the last couple of months. And I think there's a reason why I put it on our Season 1 10x10 challenge. When you look at those games, I strategically picked each one to introduce you to new board gaming concepts and mechanisms and stuff. But there were also games that I just really liked in general. I think there were a couple on the list I hadn't played, but San Juan, I was so excited to show you because before we played it for our 10x10 challenge, it was already one of my favorite games. It's so good because it's so clean. It's easy to understand. It's easy to get into. The action selection system works so well where you're building cards by playing them in front of you. You're paying the cost. It kind of has that multi-use thing going on, but it's not like convoluted by a lot of things that you have to get past, like in Race for the Galaxy. It has that whole iconography system that you need to learn. I could teach this to just about anybody. And in fact, I gave it to my uncle who taught me chess. I gave it to him as a present one time, and he and his wife really enjoy the game.
Yeah, they were talking about it.
They're not like stereotypical modern board gamers or anything, but they got into it and had a good time because it it just, I don't know, it has that classic feel where
it's not intimidating.
It's not intimidating, but it makes you feel like you're playing like a strategy game, you know, and it's unlike any card game that you've ever played. If you haven't been introduced to modern board games, you think, oh, here's a game with a deck of cards, and it's going to be like, I don't know, just any other typical card game that I've played. And then you realize, oh, this is so much different because it makes you have to think in ways of, I want to play this card in front of me, but I need to pay for that card, which is going to be other cards from my hand. So what cards can I get rid of? Oh, this card can produce goods. That means taking a card off the deck and putting it face down. I don't know what that card is, and I will never know. It doesn't really matter, but it's a good. It's a coffee or it's a tobacco, a silver, whatever. And then now I'm trading goods. I'm discarding that good and then drawing more cards from the top of the deck. So it's constantly cycling through this deck of cards. And I still feel like every time I play the game, there's still like little fun ways that I can approach it, whether it's going really big on the production buildings or it's going for the city buildings that give you the abilities, or it's chasing after those 6-cost buildings that give you points at the end of the game for things like the statues or the different types of production buildings or the different types of city buildings, or there's like weird ones in there like the buildings of different values and stuff. I don't know. I don't see myself ever getting tired of it just as it is. It doesn't need a lot of expansions or anything. I think the second edition comes with some expansion cards in the game, which I would never play without. They're just, to me, that's just the base game because that's the only way I've ever played it.
Yeah, I do agree with how there's different ways to play the game. It's actually funny because in all of the rounds that we have played of the game, I never tried to win off the statues. That was one thing I always ignored because I was just like, it's all right.
They give you so many points.
Okay, well, did they work for you?
They have very well. When I can get, there's like the 3, 4, and 5 value statues. When you can get all 3 of those, and plus the 6-cost building that gives you points for those statues. Oh, you're raking in the green at that point.
In the green?
Well, not technically. It doesn't give you anything other than points. But
yeah. I don't know. I just never went the statue way. I always felt like they were more work than what they were worth. You're like, well, I don't think so. And I'm like, well, let's see who the winner, if I can talk. But yeah.
Well, we're currently head-to-head, but... And this is when we first played it, you know, you liked it back then. Anytime we've come back to it, you've continued to like it. So I don't predict after playing it more that that'll change, but it'll be interesting, I think, with the perspective of all of the games that we've played. We've done 4 10x10 challenges at this point with some pretty strategic games. Coming back to it with the same level of depth where we're going to play it a lot and then talk about it, it'll be interesting to see if any of your opinions have changed, if it's been refined, if you even like the game more. So that is San Juan. So then Race for the Galaxy.
Yes.
I had high hopes for teaching you this one. How would you explain your opinion of it as it sits right now?
Yes. So I don't know if I had mentioned this in the in the Race for the Galaxy episode, but to me, I felt that it was kind of like, if you're dyslexic, it wasn't like dyslexic friendly because the symbols really messed with my head. I don't know. The way the symbols were, I could not properly sort them in my head. Like, it was so difficult for me. And I think that was a barrier for enjoying the game or not. Maybe doing some repetitive plays and really figuring it out, maybe I'll feel different. But we did play 11 rounds of it out of our 10x10 challenge for it. And I cannot wrap my head around the symbols. I can't. Like, I understand the symbols and I can tell you what the symbols mean, but in the midst of the game, when I'm not taking a second to explain the symbols to you and I'm just playing, my head jumbles up the symbols when I'm not saying it out loud because I'm keeping it in my head. It's kind of like there's different types of dyslexia, and the one I have is the one where some letters get jumbled, but it also is I'm thinking of something, and when I say it, it's not correct. I don't know how to explain it, and I don't know which branch it specifically is.
Like, you say things backwards sometimes?
Yeah, you know, that, like, I always say thingy because if I'm not saying thingy, I'm going to end up saying doorknob, and you're like, are you talking about the flower pot? And I'm like, yes. And you're like, why did you say doorknob? And I'm like, I don't know. So I'm not quite sure, but that's kind of how this game is for me with the symbols. I can't, I don't know. Like in my head, I get it. But the second I start like moving my hands or moving my mouth, whatever's coming out isn't particularly incohesive with what the symbols say, unless I'm actually just sitting and explaining the symbols, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. I remember it was probably around, I don't know, 6 or 7 plays in, you finally started to get it and you were like, oh, that's what a windfall world does. When you place it, you get to produce a good onto it. Or
I didn't understand that either.
When we do the consume action or trade action, you actually have to have a planet with that capability to trigger that thing. And I didn't realize that you could trigger an action twice because you have 2 cards. And I was like, yes.
Oh, that was the other thing. It used words that didn't make sense to me.
They don't.
But in general, English doesn't make sense to me.
But when it clicked, and that's where I felt like our plays of it ended too soon because you were just starting to catch on. You were right at that point where I think you could be competitive with the game. And then, all right, now we need to move on to the next 10 by 10 game.
Okay, but let's be for real. You think I can be competitive with any game?
It depends on how competitive you feel.
So yeah.
It depends, because if I do something that makes you upset, that's the most competitive I ever see you.
Yeah.
Like there's plays of games. We talked about the one infamous round of Le Havre when I took your
you should have just left me alone.
I should have left you alone, but now you never let me forget that.
Well, that was the only play of Le Havre that I completely wiped all of my goods
because
and
you were that
raked in the
motivated.
dough. No, because I was that angry.
So if I make you upset, then you're going to adapt, overcome, and achieve. No, and this is one reason too so this was in season 3. We decided for season 4, we're going to play games until we feel like we've discovered everything there is to discover in the game. And I think that was honestly because of Race for the Galaxy, because it ended too short, but we needed to move on with the program, with the schedule. We had a weekly schedule to get to. That nobody cares about.
Other than us.
But we wanted to hit it. But
we are our best competition. We tell ourselves to do better.
So your current opinion of the game is that it was difficult for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was difficult for me.
And is that why it's remained kind of a lukewarm rating?
Well, I don't know.
Ranking for you?
I don't know, because when it comes to things that are difficult, I do want to do the adapt, overcome, achieve, or whatever.
It's your system.
I know it's my system. I only say it when I'm in the trenches, angry at you, and I finally win. I'm like, ha!
We should make T-shirts. It's like adapt, overcome, achieve.
You can use that in life for anything,
I know. That's why I said you should be like a corporate trainer or something.
I don't want to be a corporate trainer. I'm good. Thank you.
I can see you with your blazer and walking around.
Oh my gosh. I don't want to do it ever again. Anywho, so for that, I think... Okay, so as I was saying, I don't not like things because they're challenging. I love when things are challenging. I love... figuring out things and overcoming the challenges. With this specifically, it stretched my brain, which is interesting. It's kind of like when you do those challenges and the word says red, but it's written in blue, and they say, read the word.
Oh, I'm never good at those.
I'm actually really good at those. But it is like that, where your mind's saying one thing, but your mouth is saying it different. And that's how I felt about this, because the symbols and the words, everything was just kind of jumbled in my head. So it was difficult for me to play because the thing was spelt red, but it was colored blue. That's basically how it was for me. So it was just difficult.
Yeah, when I say that you were lukewarm on it because it was difficult, I think what I mean to say is the difficulty, what didn't lead to a lack of enjoyment, is just that you didn't quite get to that point where you could play it enough to overcome that challenge and then just sail through, where you get to that point where it's humming along for you. And I think you're always trying to get to that point in the game. You always go into it with kind of this puzzle mentality where I want to solve this. I want to find the optimal strategy. I want to discover what is holding you back. And you're trying to overcome that so that you can solve this system, these mechanisms within the game, within the rules, and become a competitive player at the game and feel like you can not only win against me, but sit down and play just about anybody and stand a strong chance.
Why do you think I'm so competitive?
You're like the most competitive person I've ever met.
What?
We were at, for like when we did, there was a group outing that we did one time.
Oh my God.
It was like one of those game night thing, not like board game night, but it was like a game show type. It was
literally a game show.
And
it was so painful.
And you didn't even enjoy the challenges, but it's like you have to win.
And we did win.
We did, yeah.
We literally
you scared
took
everybody
home
on the team into winning.
Okay, well, there was that one guy, okay?
Yeah.
There was that one guy that I was gunning for because he's all like,
he was all pompous.
Yeah, because he was pompous. He was like, I'm the only athletic person here. And I'm all like, okay.
Excuse you?
Excuse you? Excuse you? And guess
who
was more athletic than him?
Defense.
JD. Okay. I just don't give off the sporty. And then I feel like some people are like, no, I don't even know what you look like, and you're pretty sporty. I'm like, thank you, people.
That's funny. Where I stand with Race for the Galaxies is still one of my favorite games. Obviously, in my 10 of all time. I think that this game, if I were to play it enough, in the right circumstances, which I think you and I playing repeatedly qualifies as that type of circumstance, where I have the chance to really figure out some nuanced strategies. There definitely are strategies like that within this deck of cards that you can discover. I think that this not only would be one of my favorite games and climb maybe even higher than San Juan, but collectively between you and I would be one of our favorite games that we want to get out and play outside of any of these special projects that we're doing for Dice Jesters. We just want a game to throw down on the table. Could easily be that game because it is so fast. When we got playing along, it was like 20 minutes.
Well, our shortest one was like less than 5, wasn't it? The one that I cut short.
Oh, you tried to rush. Yeah.
Yeah, and I won. Okay, that was a strategy.
That was.
That I had,
yeah, there's strategies within the game. I like the space theme. I love the action selection component where instead of in San Juan where you're just selecting one action on your turn, I like the simultaneous nature that we're both selecting the actions from our hands. We're both selecting 2. We reveal them. And if we pick the same action, then that action only triggers one time. So you're trying to figure out what is my opponent trying to do because you want more actions to trigger within the round.
That was the other thing that I wasn't that warm on, was the hidden actions.
Oh, that's one of my favorite parts of the game.
Because, I'm sure it'll become something that's like a favorite part of mine because I like things like that. Like we found out in Twa, I really like things like that. And in the Illuminatin, right? It's Illuminatin.
Pax Illuminatin.
Yes, Pax Illuminatin. I knew I was forgetting something. In Pax Illuminatin, it was hidden as well. So I do like hidden things. And I think maybe just with the whole learning thing that I did not get into the hidden thing, but now I can.
Well, exactly. And that's really why I wanted to come back to this. And because I just love San Juan, wanted to solve this once and for all. And so this is going to be like an ultra Dice Jesters Joust deep dive.
Joust.
I'm just throwing a lot of words out there. And what we're going to do is we've already spent some time just talking about what we like about the games and our impressions, but we're actually going to go back for each of these.
Okay.
And play them both at least 10 more times.
Well, they're short games, so okay.
They're short. Well, we could do this in a day if we wanted to. So
I'm okay with that.
We're going to go play San Juan first, play it at least 10 times, and then we're going to come back and talk about our thoughts after those 10 plays and if anything has changed, like new perspectives that we've found. At that time, it'll be close to 40 plays that we've knocked out of this game. So I think that's going to be enough times to be able to speak to it on that kind of level. And then we're going to go back away. We're going to play Race for the Galaxy at least 10 more times. Then we're going to come back and talk about that experience. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to come back for a final San Juan versus Race for the Galaxy type of verdict, where we're going to go through a bunch of different criteria that I have yet to determine. I'll come up with those. We'll kind of like rank them like side by side, this versus that, and just have some fun with
symbols. I'm like San Juan.
Exactly. And then we'll end it with our final verdict. Which game tops the other? San Juan or Race for the Galaxy?
Who won the Joust?
Yeah. But let's go get into it and go play some San Juan, and we'll be back to talk about that.
Okay. And Dave and I are back after our 10 re-rounds, perhaps? Reruns of San Juan.
Re-embarking on the journey.
Yeah, lots of re's.
Lots of re's.
Rewinding to season 1. Oh, look at that. Okay.
Reigniting our passion
yes.
for San Juan.
Yes. Re-admiring. Is that, you're like, that's not a word.
Reimagining the possibilities of
you
what this
maybe
game
winning.
can offer. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, thank you for that.
Anytime.
We weren't going to get straight into that.
Rematch. Look at that. Rematch. That one's a 1. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You're like, you already hurt my...
So let's just get this part out of the way before we
Yes.
dive into our experiences and stuff.
Right. Before maybe you regret, you're like, can you stop?
You regret before you regurgitate your opinions on the matter.
Before any more puns. Well, these aren't puns. These are more just like words.
So you've long told me that I am the tableau building master of the ages.
Yes.
I've developed that title.
Against me, yeah.
Against you. And I've always given you a little bit of grief about your tableau building skills.
You have.
That this is an area that you could, with some positive feedback, areas of opportunity
I see that.
to strengthen your skills, put it on your old annual performance
I
review.
thought you were going to be like on your LinkedIn page.
Why do we do so much corporate talk?
I don't know, because we both came from there.
So out of these 10 plays that we just did,
Yes.
you won 9 of them. I only won once.
Was that the tie?
That was...
Or did you... No, I won the tiebreaker.
Yeah, the tie that we had, you won the tiebreaker.
Right, but you actually... Yes,
There
you
was
won
one game I
Yes.
actually did win. So.
I remember that day.
I was going to feel mildly to severely depressed if you made it through 10 plays and I didn't win a single time.
Well, that's how I felt about Deus.
Well, technically, you didn't win a single round.
Thank you.
Okay, so San Juan, we've come back to it from time to time again, but this was our first time really sitting down and playing it in depth on that level. We were playing it back to back. Played it 10 times, and I'm just curious. So after our initial plays of it through the 10 by 10 challenge to now, how would you say that your opinion on the game and perspective has evolved over that span of time? Where are you at today?
That I like it a lot more today. Yes. Compared to previously. And I still don't allow myself to believe that it's a tableau game. Because I just don't. No. Don't make me believe it. I'm not listening. It's not a tableau game. That's why I'm good at it.
All right. Well, regardless of mechanisms and so forth, we've played it 28 times at this point, which is a good amount. And you say that you still like it a lot. So what are your favorite things about it after so many plays?
Well, this time around, I know that previously we had always joked that I got my special 3, the harbor bank, right, in the chapel.
Correct.
And this time, I found a new special way. It's the goldsmith, gold mine, and something else.
The golden triangle.
Yeah, the golden triangle. But I don't think the last thing's gold.
You should
related,
coin
but...
like terminology for different strategies in this game. You have your Holy Trinity and now your Golden Triangle.
Golden
What were those cards that you found?
So goldsmith, gold mine, and then something else. And I liked having those because they gave me the ability to either get more cards or it was lay a card down for less, depending on what kind of card it was. It was something like that. I can't reiterate what it specifically was. What do you mean? What?
Oh, we were going on like the re.
Oh, I see. Maybe I sprinkled that in on purpose. You're like, you look shocked, so you didn't. But I don't have the cards in front of me, so I'm unable to explain what those cards did. And even so, that helped me even more than the chapel, the bank, and the harbor because it allowed me to play more higher cards and or always have more cards on me or whatever that ability was.
I know one of them was with the prospector. You would flip over the 4 cards, and then if all 4 were different values, you could keep the cheapest one.
Yes, I noticed that too. A reason that I really loved that card is because usually when somebody else picks the prospector card, you just sit. You're like, oh, I can't do anything. But with one of my gold triangles or whatever you called it, the golden triangle, I got to use the ability of the prospector card regardless of who used it.
The prospector is one of those things that it's like not that good of a reward because it just lets you literally draw one card. But then knowing that your opponent doesn't get to do anything on their turn, there is something slightly crushing about when your opponent chooses a prospector and you have nothing to do. You just sit there like a fool as they take the card into their hand. But one card is not that good of a benefit unless you have the library, and then you're drawing 2 cards.
Yes, then that's
really cool.
Yes. So I realized that too, bouncing off of that. I used to always use the prospector just to be like, hee, this is only my turn. And then I was just like, all of those moves that I've ever taken where I use the prospector without the library were all wasted. You know why? Because of that one other card, the counselor. The counselor, as the person who picks it, you get the ability, and so you get to choose one card out of all these different cards as opposed to just getting one. Yes, your opponent gets to have a card too, but you get this beautiful advantage of deciding what card you want. So if you have a golden triangle and or a holy trinity, you have the ability of grabbing that card sooner than if you just grabbed the prospector and grabbed only one card per turn.
Well, it sounds like you really knew what you were doing this time. And, your whole mantra that we joke about is the adapt, overcome, and achieve.
Right.
I tried to do that this time, and I found myself still clinging to some old strategies that I thought were tried and true. They're not. They're tried and true. Where I always start with getting some production buildings out.
I noticed. Yeah.
And then getting some mid-game city buildings to crank out some additional stuff. And then getting either a chapel, a bank, or a harbor, usually one of those. And then trying to end with a 6-cost building. But I found that you somehow were able to outpace me in the plays that we did, where you got ahead in the number of buildings that you had. And the end of the game is triggered once somebody's built their 12th building. Yeah. So you would time it perfectly where you knew I couldn't build, and then you were one ahead. And then I just, for whatever reason, couldn't catch up, and then you got further and further ahead. And I almost never got to the point where I was able to successfully lay down those 6-cost buildings that give you those points. But you were.
I got 3
You were able to
in one.
do it. So I don't know what it was, but I did notice that you were deploying some of those city cards and doing really well with those. It seemed like every time I turned around, you were grabbing more cards for something. You were like, oh, did you just lay down this? Now I get to draw a card. Oh, do you have this in your city? Now I get to put it in my city. It was cool to see what went from like a 50-50, statistically speaking, game where you and I both won about halftime to you being really good at this game and finding these cool strategies that worked within the cards. And so my next question, after playing it 28 times, do you still feel at this point that there are new, fresh approaches when it comes to tactics and strategies that there are to explore? Do you feel like you found the right strategy and you can just go after that every single game?
I think that honestly, it'd probably be impossible to go after every single game just with the variety of cards that's within the play deck. So you wouldn't always necessarily get the cards you want, right? I think
That's true.
I need to build strategies around all cards. So if you were to take the variations of cards, so let's say you have the crane, you would have to do the crane and do a hand of 4, and because you start with 4 cards. So like, let's say you started with the crane, blah, 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 blah. But you would have to figure out how that worked with all the cards. So I think that you could play this game forever. And forever is a long time, but for a very long time, and still be able to find new strategies. Because like you and I had learned, or I at least learned, that my initial strategy of the Harbor Chapel Church is okay. It's okay because you need other things to activate it. Like for the harbor, you need to sell it good to even put a card under it. For the chapel or church, I forgot which one, but you need to end the round with with cards so that you can put a card under it. And then the other one is, you have to take your whole hand and put it under one time. And you need to meet certain conditions to do that. While with this new thing that I found, it actually helps you a lot. So then when I did get, I forgot which one, the chapel and or the church, whichever one makes you put your whole hand under. When I did get that, I actually had a big hand to put under that. So I feel like there's always different ways to play.
And it does seem to be a good balance of the cards that give you points but don't really do anything for you compared to the cards that maybe don't give you as much points but they allow you to take more efficient turns. So this game seems to be one of efficiency, because the Chapel, Bank, and Harbor, all you're doing with those is you're tucking cards underneath. And with the exception of, I think the Harbor, whenever you trade a good, that card goes underneath the Harbor instead of going to the discard pile. So that doesn't really matter. But for the Bank and Chapel, it requires you to take cards out of your hand that you could use to either build buildings or pay for buildings. And now you're getting rid of those, but you're trading those in for points. So that, to me, was a difficult balance where I wasn't always using the Chapel or the Bank when maybe I could have, because I was holding onto those cards. But then you compare that with the cards that actually let you do things, and I almost feel like those are a better advantage to get down. And it's a little bit easy to get caught up in this idea of, I'm going to get this card and cash all these cards under it. Meanwhile, your opponent gets ahead and builds out more cards than you and ends up winning the game because you spent so much time trying to tuck the cards.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like there's lots of ways.
There is. So I know we've talked a lot about player interaction in games and stuff. How did you feel in terms of the strategies that you went for in this game? How good of a job does this game do with making you have to adapt to what your opponent is doing, or having what your opponent does on their turn impact the decisions you make on yours?
So when we first started playing this for our initial 10 by 10, I felt that it impacted me greatly because what I was chasing was kind of all reliant on how many cards I got or how many goods I got. Well, this time around, it was okay. The only time that I really had to watch you was more so to see what you played to help me based off of this new card thing that I did. And so I feel like the back and forth ever so slightly went down just because the play style changed, but it didn't make the game feel any less competitive or anything like that. I still felt like I was racing you to get all of the cards. I still felt like I wanted to get certain cards or activate certain actions prior to you, just so I got the special ability. Of course. But due to the cards that I had, if you did go on the building and maybe I was planning for the building, because I was ahead of you initially, I wasn't sweating about it. I was just like, oh, well, I'll just get the building next time, like the next round of the game. And so I wasn't really bothered. There was only one time, and I think it was the time you won, where you were selling goods and I didn't have goods. So you would kind of wait until for some reason I didn't have any goods, and then you would go to sell them, and then I'd be like, oh, The timing of those actions, I think, is really important to do well in the game, to choose an action that will benefit you and not your opponent. And I remember talking about that back in the beginning, but I do feel, though, that your play style may dramatically differ depending on who you're playing with. Right. And I was looking back at our statistics over our plays, because the app does a good job now of being able to track this kind of stuff, where it looks like the Chapel, Bank, and Harbor, the average number of points that one of us got with those cards where we won was 12.2. So in order to win, statistically, you need to get at least 12 points from that. Whereas the 6-cost buildings, the average points for winning the game was 10.1. So in our plays, the Chapel, Bank, and Harbor were more important. I was going to say, half the time, I would hold off on putting those down until I saw you do it, because then I know you're going to get a lot more points than me, so I need to do that too. Whereas if you were just laying cards down quickly and building out your city, I might try to just chase after that more, so that you don't end the game where I only have a few buildings in my city. Speaking of the 6 cost cards, I was doing the math on some of those, and a lot of them is just kind of like like laying down a statue, like a 5-cost statue, which would cost 1 less than a 6-cost card, was more beneficial because you got 5 points. Because some of the 6-cost cards, you could only really get 4 points before the game ran out, or, stuff like that. I don't know. There were some games of it where you got a lot of points from those 6 Well, that's because I was doing the math.
Because there was which one was the Palace, where it divides by 4 and then you get points. So you got like 10 extra points from that. And then I wouldn't necessarily build my whole strategy around it, but it's a circumstantial thing where if you happen to chase after those at the end of a game for a situation you have set up in your city, you can do really well. Like the production one. If you have all 5 production types, that gives you 10 points right there, because it's 1 point per production building and then 1 point for each type. So depending on what you have, you could crank out some points at the end. But it is hard to base a whole strategy on that when it does rely on you having that card in your hand, being able to pay for it, and everything else going on in the game. So
Yeah. And I think that was one of my biggest problems when we initially started playing it during, I don't know, what was that, last year or 2 years now? How old are we?
How old are we? I think we're coming up on 2 years.
Yeah, I think in June, right?
Something like that. It's coming.
We'd have to look. But I was always fixated on the 6 cost cards. Even though I ended up discarding them, I would be like, oh, this gets you these points. I'm probably going to get it again with how fast we go through the deck. So I will try to focus on that. And then I would never get it. And I'd be like, oh, yeah. That was a silly thought.
You have overcome that thought.
You're like,
and you are the new, I should give you a physical crown of the tableau, or tabloid, as you would say, building master.
Well, no, because we still have the whatever one.
Well, as of now, but you might re-gift that to me after Race for the Galaxy, which I don't know. You may adapt to that one as well. We'll see. But I will say, just before we cut away to go start playing Race for the Galaxy, San Juan, in my opinion, ended up on both of our top 10 games of all time for a good reason. I think this game, to me, is like the perfect, simple yet strategic game with few components that you can just throw down and play, and it gives you that same feeling as playing like a bigger box game, in my opinion. And I don't think my opinion on that has changed. It's still a masterpiece in my view.
You're like, I'm not going to say opinion.
Yeah, I don't want to say it again. You're looking for different words.
Right. That's okay. I also agree with you that it is a wonderful game to play. Yes.
And win.
And win. I was pretty shocked at that, honestly. But that is truly because I don't believe it's a tableau building game. That's why.
Okay.
Because that one where I lost, I was like, it's because you got in my head that it was a tableau building game. And then remember, I took a moment. I was just like, it's not. Well,
I won't tell you that Race for the Galaxy is a tableau building
You did
game.
Already.
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
No, since forever you've told me that. Since we even started, you were like, I can't wait until we get to play
the
Race
moment
for the
I
Galaxy
met you,
together.
I'm like, hey, Race for the Galaxy is a tableau building game.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's amazing. Well, thank you for taking the journey of playing San Juan with me. We're going to go get into Race for the Galaxy. We're going to blast
We're going to race
space.
to the galaxy.
We're going to race to the stars. And we'll see if you can overcome your past defeat track record with the game. And we'll come back and talk about our experience with that.
Okay. Sounds good. And Dave and I are back after our 10 plays of Race for the Galaxy. So, Dave.
Yes.
I'm at the understanding that you have questions for me about it.
I have several questions.
You seem so excited.
Well, so coming back, we've now played the game 21 times. Your win percentage has gone up with the game. I am at 14 wins, and you are now at 7. So you've won some. Average playtime for the game is now at 24 minutes.
Okay.
And the person with the longest win streak is me with 5 wins in a row. So that's where things currently sit. But after coming back from season 2, playing it 10 times, replaying it 10 times now, well, I guess we've played it 11 times previously. So now it was 10 more on top of that. So how has your perspective evolved since your first 10 plays of the game until now after 21 plays? I'm going to ask the same questions as I did for San Juan, by the way.
Okay. I feel like it frustrates me less because I'm not losing as bad, but it still confuses me. So you and I were talking about this, and you said, oh, you get it. And I was like, I don't get it. I'm just playing. And you were like, well, the moves you're making tells me that you understand the game. And I said, No, I don't. I'm just looking at the numbers and laying down said numbers.
I mean, that's kind of the goal or point of the game.
No.
You were able to throw down a full 12 card spread of your galaxy.
Right. But it wasn't a
good
tableau or whatever. They didn't work together. Why are you looking at me?
They did something because you won a few of those.
Mm-hmm. Just because I waited for the high numbers. That's what I did.
Was that your strategy?
Well, remember the last play that we did? I had a bunch of military. And so I had high-ranking military.
You were like an admiral in the military.
I was like their leader because I had lots of 5s and 6s. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, so what is it about the game that still feels uncertain or confusing?
I don't know. The last 2 cards? Or is it the same 2 cards? The trading, it's not producing.
Oh, the consume?
Yeah, the consume.
Consume trade and consume
Yes.
for the 2 victory point. Double victory points.
Those I stayed away from because I just couldn't have cards in my tableau that had those abilities. To me, I was like, oh, it's a waste of time. And then I had spoke about my dyslexia messing me up, and you were like, there's symbols. So I thought about it while I was playing it, and it's a lot of things. I think it's because there's lots of things going on the card itself. Like, it's very helpful that the card has everything going on so that you can understand what you're doing, but it's also slightly confusing to how my brain works for that, because it took me a while to understand the cards. I think because the cards that you play with, right? They're in numerical Roman numerals.
And the action cards?
Yeah, and I think because of that number, it creates like a barrier, right? Because it's, the reason that they're like that is because you do this first, this second, this third, which makes sense. But because it has that, the way my brain works is, you have to do this first. You have to do this second. Not specifically during that turn, but during the turns during the game. So, I need to gather cards first. I need to play all these diamonds second. Like, that's what it creates in my head. While if it was, I don't know, shapes of some sort. So, I don't know, a circle, a triangle.
Oh, okay.
And then it said, okay, circles first, triangle second. People are going to be like, the numbers make so much more sense. And I'm going to be like, I understand the numbers make sense because they do make sense. But in my mind, I thought that you had to play it in order for each game while I was learning it. So, so that's why I never got to the consume and trade, because I never thought my tableau was ready for the consume and trade because it's like 4 and 5. And I didn't think they were ready for that.
Well, I think you built a lot of developments too. You didn't have a lot of planets that had resource producing capabilities, or there were windfall worlds, so there was only one on there, but you wouldn't produce to get a good back on that planet.
Yes.
I could see that. And I think that the game, it requires a certain type of thinking, and I understand graphically why every decision was made in terms of the icons and then the flow of the game. It makes sense.
Right. Like, it makes complete sense. Like, a lot of thought had gone into it.
Right. But I could see how it's confusing. I think what would trip a person up, too, is the fact that you have to choose in a 2-player game 2 actions simultaneously. And so you have this whole hand of cards where you need to figure out what actions you're going to take. But then there's also this confusing layer of some of the actions you can actually trigger twice. So there's 2 developments in there. There's 2 settles. And then you can also stack up the explore ability as well. But if you do both explore abilities, you only do 1 explore action. So you just get to draw a lot more cards. But if you do 2 developments or 2 settles, you actually get to do that action 2 times. We all do.
See, that's confusing.
And that's a confusing thing to wrap your head around.
Yeah, because it has a -1 for whatever you're laying down, that development, right? And so you think, it's like the Explorer where I get to -2, because you laid down 2 develops. No, you -1, lay a develop down, then move on, -1, lay a develop down.
I think what trips me up too, and not to get too far into the comparison of San Juan, but when you do the settle action, I always think I get a 1 discount. But you don't. You pay the cost, but then you get to draw a card after you settle the planet, which is weird because you get the discount on development, but not on settling the planet. Yes. So,
well, they had to make it different, 2 different games, 2 different things. But yeah, this one's just a lot more confusing. I understand it better now.
Well, I'm glad. I think my perspective hasn't changed that much. I still really love and appreciate the game. But the one thing that stood out to me through these replays is the fact of those 6 cost buildings, the developments that give you the end game scoring points. My mind is wired to think these aren't helpful until the very end of the game. You're going to try to get those down to score a lot of points. But they're actually, I found, pretty helpful to get early in the game because they all have really good bonuses that you can benefit from. And then it gives you a point of focus to then go and search for those cards for the rest of the game that will work well with that 6 cost building. So I discovered that through these 10 plays. Before, I think I just tried to get them at the end, but I thought that was a cool shift in my think style of how I approached my strategy.
Well, look at you.
Well, and it kind of leads me to my next question. Do you feel at this point that there are still fresh tactical and strategic approaches to explore, or do you think you've kind of seen it all?
Sorry, I'm only laughing because I don't feel like I explored anything. I still was figuring out the game.
Well, I guess what are your thoughts about the strategic options available in the game?
I feel that there could be lots of options, especially if you're going off of like a 6 development and trying to plan your plays around that. So you can strategically plan the game that way because you can find cards that allow you to look at more cards and explore the deck. So you... What?
I guess what I'm getting at too is, did you find your holy trinity in this game?
Oh,
like
no.
Your go-to strategy. Is there a clear best strategy that you found? Like, oh, this is my one thing. I'm going to try to do this every single time.
No, I didn't find anything because I wasn't thinking when I played. I just played. This game,
That's awesome.
I told you I had to like turn my brain off to play this game because my consciousness was confusing me. So you played my subconscious.
In terms of player interaction in the game, how do you feel in terms of the decisions I'm making? I know you shut your brain off, but at any point did you find yourself paying close attention to what I was doing and trying to change up what you're doing in order to either benefit from what I'm already doing or do something that would not benefit me?
So I didn't necessarily pay attention to you to change anything that I did. I did pay attention to you to count your points and count my points and then figure out if I should hold or lay. And if you had more points than me, I would hold until I could lay down a better scoring card. If you had less points than me, I was just like, I'll just keep laying until the game's finished. So that's kind of how I went about it. So in that last game that we had played for this 10 rounds, I kept holding a lot of my cards. And then, I don't know if you noticed, but one of the cards I got was a double lay for whatever's after develop. The world. Settle, yeah.
The double settle?
I had a double
awesome.
settle. So at the end, after I got enough military, I did a double settle. So I actually ended up doing like a quad settle.
And then you got like 13 cards, right?
No, that one I still got 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, this one was the very, very last.
Did you win that one?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
I did.
Because you rushed the end of the game.
But no, you had a decent amount in your little tableau over there. You had 10.
My little tableau.
Yeah, you had 10 cards.
Your cute little tableau.
Your cute little tableau. No, I just noticed that you tend to trade more, and that's where you get a majority of your points from. And because you didn't realize that I had that one card that allowed me to double lay, you didn't realize how close the game was to being over. So your side, you were getting ready to get to that trade action because you had played that one card that allows you to get your planets all stocked up with their goods or whatever.
The produce action.
Yeah. And so you were preparing for it, but you didn't realize that it was the end.
I think that the way I see it, player interaction in the game is when you play with the same person enough, you kind of become familiar with their rhythm of play within the game. And so I knew you were always going to do explore, at least for like half the game. You're always doing explore action. So I realized that if I get cards that give me additional explore abilities, I don't even need to choose explore because you'll do that for me and I can choose other things. And especially if it's doing the consume action or something that won't even benefit you at all, that's even better.
Thank you. I'm happy that you can use my choices to help benefit your tableau.
That is what I came to do.
And did.
So looking at Race for the Galaxy and comparing it to other bigger games that we've played, what was the experience like in terms of it comparing to a large box game? Does it feel like just a card game or does it feel like something bigger?
Since we obviously played San Juan, since we discussed that earlier in this episode, I do feel that there's a majority of similarities with San Juan. As for does it compare to any big box game, I can't particularly think of one right now that it would compare to. I do feel that it is more like a card game Yeah. Yeah, I'd say it's definitely like a card game. I feel like you have a different...
I do. It gives me so many strategic options to look at and so many different things to consider, different paths you can take. It has like aspects of resource management, of planning, of careful action selection, of watching, again, what your opponent's doing and trying to work around that. Within only a 20 to 25 minute game, I think out of all the games I've ever played, this has the deepest level of strategy for the fewest components and the shortest amount of gameplay, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's how I see it.
I haven't seen the strategy for it just because I haven't figured out how to fully play the game yet. That's what I'm saying.
So we need to come back again for another...
The smile on your
resummoning
face is like...
For another 10 plays of this at some point, it sounds like.
You're like, we're going to figure out how many 10 round games
Does it take to get to the center of...
Yes. Race for the Galaxy.
So now that we've kind of discussed that, let's take just a really short break and we'll come back and we'll have this whole comparison thing that I've put together that I'm really excited for us to go through.
Okay.
To compare San Juan to Race for the Galaxy. So, Julie,
Yes.
are you ready for the final joust? Why did I sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I don't know. I don't know why you like an accent.
This is the big debate. So this is the moment that I know I've been waiting for almost my whole life. And now we're here. So ultimately, I want to answer the question of which game offers the more enjoyable overall experience and why. You're like, I'm ready to answer right now.
Good.
But to get to
To get to
take
that,
on the full, I have several...
You have a series of trials.
Series of sub-questions. And originally when I was thinking about this, if I wanted to approach a comparison, the obvious thing that came to mind is let's go through, we'll talk about like ease of rules, we'll talk about, you go through all the replayability, you name it. Like that's pretty standard. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to get more specific with aspects about the games that are different, and we'll talk about what makes either one of them better. So it'll be like a little debate within a debate to get us to that point of answering that question that I already know you're ready to answer. So the first debate is...
Yes.
Card text or symbology? Because San Juan has just card text on all the cards, on the action tiles that you select. Not a single symbol in the game, unless I'm mistaken. Race for the Galaxy, in stark comparison, is entirely made of symbols, except for some card text that explains some of the more complex
symbols.
But you have to learn a whole language of symbology in order to be able to play Race for the Galaxy. So which do you prefer in this example and why?
When you say in this example, you mean between the two games,
Between
correct?
the two games.
So I'm not looking at any other game. I'm looking at these two games, whether I prefer text or symbols.
You can talk in general, and then if you want to like bring it to this game, if it is different than what you normally say.
Well, I do like symbols because they're quick, easy, and I can tell what's going on. But in the case of these two games, I prefer text. I prefer San Juan because, like you said, you have to learn a whole new symbol language for Race for the Galaxy, and it's like learning an alien code. See it? I dropped that in there for you.
Thematically fitting.
You're welcome. So with that, I would say that I prefer San Juan's text because I know what's going on, I fully understand, and I feel like I could put my best foot forward when playing the game with you by understanding the text as opposed to getting discombobulated with all the different symbols.
I agree, and I think with San Juan, the difference is the abilities are simple enough to where I don't need to reread all of my cards every time we trigger an action. In Race for the Galaxy, I don't know what it is about it, but symbols in and of themselves aren't a big deal to me because a game usually has a few of them, and they come out from time to time. This game, you're constantly scanning your whole tableau of cards, looking at all the symbols, and then knowing, okay, we're triggered the 3 action, which is settled. Now I need to scan across my cards and make sure that I'm using all the abilities that I have within the 3 category. And it's a little bit too much to take in at any given point in the game where it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah, it gets lost in space.
It is. But I don't know what the solution would be. If this game were all text, that might be more confusing.
That'd be a lot.
That'd be a lot.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on this one. I'll go with the card text.
Cool.
So the next question is, in the case of the action selection systems in this game, on the one hand, we have a sequential action selection system where you take a turn taking an action, we both get to do it, then I do the same thing, but we're just going back and forth like that. In Race for the Galaxy, we are simultaneously choosing 2 actions and then flipping them over. Which system do you prefer in this case?
Race for the Galaxy. I like it because you don't know what I'm choosing, and as you had stated, you believe that I usually pick the one where you go looking for things, the Explorer. And I noticed that you came to that conclusion, so then sometimes I would mix it up on you. Be like, hee hee hee. So I feel that you can manipulate the outcome of somebody's cards based off of what they think you're going to pull, and I think that's a fun aspect.
I agree with you. I think that it makes for an interesting psychological experiment. I think I've thought a lot about this because in theory, I always love simultaneous action selection more. It cuts down playtime because you're all doing it at the same time and now we're going to resolve it. But in this case, it almost like slows down the gameplay a little bit because in San Juan, you take an action very clear and then we both get to do that and then I do it. But in this one, like instead of just taking an action, we take the actions and now we need to re-grab all of our action cards, look through them, grab the right ones, put them face down, flip them over, put them in order, and now we're going to go through the actions. It's kind of a clunky experience, I think. Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
I mean, so far, surprisingly, San Juan had the clear winner for the card text over symbology, and also for the sequential action selection. San Juan is in the lead for me currently, so we'll see. I have a few more categories to go through. So the next one is tying back into the action selection system. San Juan has very simple actions that you take. They don't require a lot of explanation. You're just playing a card, you're building a card, you're drawing cards, you're trading cards. The actions within Race for the Galaxy are more complex, yet also interesting because you have different variations of Explore. You can either draw 3 cards and keep 2 or draw 7 and keep 1. Or with the trade, you can either trade goods where you get to trade 1 type for cards. And then we do this consume thing where we get to use abilities on cards to trade in for different things like victory points or cards. There's different variations of that. So which is more enjoyable? Do you like the more complex actions of Race for the Galaxy or the more simple, streamlined actions of San Juan?
I like the streamlined actions because I like where things are like simple, but there's multiple ways you can achieve an outcome, like chess, So to me, I feel like it's a battle of wits. You're like, why'd you hesitate? Like, because I didn't want to make anyone feel bad because it sounds kind of mean and I don't mean it to be mean.
So you prefer the more simple, streamlined actions of San Juan?
Yeah. I like when things are simplistic but have depth, Yeah,
I agree. I think I definitely like the actions within Race for the Galaxy more. Although they're challenging to explain, I do like how there's different options for how many cards you're going to draw and keep, or how you're going to trade your goods, if it's just going to be for cards or you're trying to get more victory point chips. I think that having those slight tweaks is interesting, but then also the fact that you can trigger an action twice rather than once if you do it the right way.
Yeah, I do think that aspect's interesting, but I still prefer San Juan.
Yeah, that's fair. And then the next one has to do with both games have these endgame scoring cards, 6 cost cards that are hard to get out, but then they can get you a lot of points. In San Juan, they're very easy to understand. Mm-hmm. Like you get points for having these things. In Race for the Galaxy, they're more complex because they require really specific cards for you to have. On the flip side, they give you really cool ongoing abilities where San Juan does not. So which do you think makes for a more enjoyable or interesting gameplay experience?
Race for the Galaxy. It makes me laugh because at the end I think I have all these points, and then you're like, no.
You actually don't have the word terraforming or aliens.
It's like a surprise party that I've never had.
You're like, I paid for this. I don't know how many points I'm going to get. I will say in the app version of the game, I would almost say that playing on the app is a more enjoyable experience overall. And one of those reasons is in the app, when you have a 6 cost card in your hand, it tells you right on there how many points that's worth. So you don't have to add it up or guess. You just, that's a 10 cost or a 10.1 over a 2. Obviously, you're going to choose the 10. But when you're holding a whole hand of up to 10 cards in Race for the Galaxy, and you have a few 6-cost options, it might drag down the gameplay a little bit to have to like look out on your tableau and see what cards you already have and try to calculate the points, where you might make a suboptimal move just for the sake of trying to move the game along at a good pace.
Yeah.
But I would say that I like the more complex scoring cards in Race for the Galaxy for sure.
I like them too. They're exciting. They're like a little surprise.
It's a little surprise. You don't know what you're going to get.
You don't know.
And then the next has to do with an aspect I know you love about San Juan, and that is card tucking.
Oh, yeah.
So you love the Holy Trinity that let you tuck cards under your buildings in order to get points. In Race for the Galaxy, it doesn't have that, but it does have victory point chips, which is you get points at the end of the game for having. I'm basically just trying to find a way to compare different parts about the game that are kind of similar, but not.
Those are similar because you have to trade goods to do most of those actions. So.
Right, but Race for the Galaxy doesn't have card tucking, and San Juan doesn't have victory point chips. So which system of additional ways of getting points within the game is more exciting? You like card tucking.
I like it because
Why?
it's secretive.
I can see your whole stack of
Okay,
cards.
you're going to
underneath
keep
your bank,
track
your
of it?
Harbor.
Do you know how many is under there?
I know it's a lot. I know it's enough to where when I see that stack, I know I'm going to lose the game. There's no way I'm going to win. You just tucked like 20 cards underneath your bank somehow.
I've never tucked 20 under my bank.
I've seen a fat stack.
I've done 12, I think, whatever the max is of the tower. But yeah, so I like San Juan's tucking feature because it's like a little surprise. I can't count your tucks unless I keep very close eye on your hand and what you're putting under there and your goods that you sold, etc. So it makes for a more fun finish, like, oh, you had that? Okay, I didn't know that. I tried to know that, but I didn't. Well, in Race for the Galaxy, I stare at your tokens.
I like the Harbor is probably my favorite card tucking card in San Juan because it adds a layer of, you have to think, if I'm going to choose the trade action, but you have the Harbor and you have a good, you're going to trade that not only to get more cards, but it's going to serve, I'm giving you a point is what I'm doing. So it gives you that. Whereas I guess in Race for the Galaxy, it has the same thing because if I see you have a lot of goods to consume, you're going to get victory point chips from that. So, but the difference is in San Juan, the card tucking does not dictate the pacing of the game. Whereas in Race for the Galaxy, one of the two endgame triggers is running out of victory point chips in the pile that we're going out of.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's that. It can affect the whole gameplay as well. Which, you said that you like card tucking.
Tuck it.
I'm going to...
You're going to tuck it. Tuck it real good. You're going to take that out, right?
No, I can't give that in. I don't know. I think I like victory point chips more because... Well, maybe I'm just not as good at card tucking as you are, but I like the fact that in this case, it can control the pacing of the game. And if for some reason I'm going into a strategy that's big on the production of the resources on the planets, rather than just trying to rush cards out, that you're rushing ahead of me, there's still a different way I can win if I'm not keeping up with the pace at which you're getting cards onto the table.
Right. So what is that, 3-2?
I think.
I think so.
So the last one has to do with the ways that you can build cards into your tableau. So in San Juan, there's only one way, and that's by paying cards to build cards in front of you. In Race for the Galaxy, there's two types of planets. You either have the standard planet you're going to pay with cards, or you can get military strength and build military planets with military. So there's really two types of currencies. So which experience do you like more?
San Juan. I like the restrictive of it.
Of always having to pay cards.
Yeah. Because then it restricts both of us. It doesn't just restrict me. It restricts both of us. Well, the military, you could be, I don't know, putting down low cards to build up your military. And then your maybe last 6 cards that you lay down are all solid bangers because you have high military. And then that itself could win you the game. While in San Juan, nobody can put bangers down unless they work up for said bangers.
Yeah, but you're on the perspective. I saw you getting bangers out in front of you because you had like 8 military strength in one of the last rounds.
Yeah.
You of all people should be screaming from the rooftops.
No.
About the military.
Too simple. Not enough restriction.
I like the military strength because it gives you that you feel like you're getting something for free. I invested in building this military strength and now I'm going to reap the benefits.
Yeah, but sometimes the military strength could have came from the development, and if you laid down a development, that would have been -1 development, right? Or you could be like me, and then you have that -1, and you already laid down 2 additional -1s that you purchased for -1, so you got them down for free. And then you lay down that 4 development that gives you +3 military, and you would lay that down only having to sacrifice one of your cards from your hand. But if you then continue to lay down other militaries that give off militaries, it is very easy to build up your military, which means it's too easy.
You said some words there. I followed for a second. No, I like it. It's interesting, though, that it does balance, because I've noticed that the military planets tend to more often than not be windfall planets, which means that you get a good on it when you lay it down, but then you won't automatically produce on the planet unless you're the one who chose the produce ability. Another confusing aspect to explain about the game. But getting stuff down for free, and especially when you get that ability that lets you lay down settle 2 planets in a row, that one development card, you can really do some damage.
You're looking at me like it's personal.
But I'm going to go with having the 2 currencies in Race for the Galaxy. You were Team San Juan on that one.
I'm Team San Juan because I like the restrictive nature of not having 2 options.
Which is you explained it as if it were a good thing for Race for the Galaxy.
Well, I was explaining it from your point of view.
Okay. Yeah. So the final has come down to this. The final verdict. Which game offers the more enjoyable experience overall after so many plays?
See, you didn't ask the right questions here. You didn't say which one was more enjoyable beating me at.
Which game was more enjoyable beating me at?
Oh no, when I beat you 3 times in a row in Race for the Galaxy, and we didn't play, we only played 3 rounds, 3 games of that. You were like, no, that was pretty enjoyable. It reminded me of Castles of Burgundy when you kept working it up. You were like, I have like a 90%. No one could see that I'm like moving my head back and forth. But you were talking about your really high win percentage on BGA, right? That's what you played it on?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my life goal at that time, for that moment, was to beat you at Castles of Burgundy. And then I took that and I was like, hee. And then every game you've ever said, oh, I have this. Well, you didn't say that for Race for the Galaxy, but it's just something I wanted to beat you at, because the first time we played, you won 5 in a row. And I only won because I ended the game really quickly. That's the only reason that your streak got broken.
True.
But regardless of that, if I were to pick the game, I just like San Juan. I like San Juan. It's quick.
It's pretty chill.
It's like Dominion to me, where you throw it on the table, there's no explanation, you just go.
True, and I do feel like, although I've played Race for the Galaxy so many times by this point, I always need a little bit of a refresher before I come back to it. And I still do think that Race for the Galaxy is the better overall experience. It's close, though. I mean, I would take either any day of the week. But if you're gonna tell me, Dave, you have to choose one, or else, I think I'm going to go with Race for the Galaxy. So are we divided on this one?
Yeah, it's Joust. Our kingdoms have been divided, David.
Oh, no. Now we need to get Lupin in to...
No, Lupin's on the other side.
To solve the dilemma.
Okay, well, he already solved the dilemma, because when San Juan was on the table, he jumped on the table. So he obviously likes San Juan more than he likes Race for the Galaxy.
I think he was just intimidated by your military strength.
Oh, he was intimidated by my military strength that he knows nothing about.
Oh, he knows. He's watching. He's always watching.
He is always watching. He's watching right now. He's like peering at the corner of the door over there.
Oh, when did he get here?
He just sits there. I love his little like watching face. He's like, whoop, whoop. Oh my gosh, speaking of watching face, there was a bird. Okay, wait. This is like a little, what's it called? A little Easter egg at the end of the movie.
Oh, it's a preview for the next one?
Well, okay, one sec. Before I get to the bird thing, we want to hear your thoughts from the people of the court. Do you feel San Juan is better, or do you feel Race for the Galaxy is better, or have you never played both? If you want, you can answer that question either through, if you're listening on Spotify, I believe that you can check a poll. There's a poll you can vote on. If you're not listening on Spotify and want to chime in, feel free to go over to our Instagram, thedicejesters, and message us there, or you can email us. Our email is thedicejesters@gmail.com. just wanted to do a quick update on the Patreon. We are no longer going to have the Patreon, but that doesn't mean that you can't support us in any way. If you like, you can go over to our bio sites, which is also in the episode description. Click on that, scroll down a bit. There's a thing that says Huzzah the Tipper. And then if you leave a tip, you can leave your name and we'll huzzah you. Huzzah! Okay, back to the bird story. So, Dave and I go to get Lupin's birthday treats and gift.
That is a real thing.
Yes. And this is his birthday. Like, I know his day of birth because I got him from the person who had the cat that gave birth to him. And so we're going to celebrate Lulu's birthday. And I'm going there, right? And I walk past the birdcage. And for all of you people who've been here since season 1 and or have just caught up and understand what this is about to get into, you're welcome. You're welcome for this story.
Go back and listen to that whole, from season 1 to fully comprehend and really admire the moment that you're about to experience here.
I'm gonna cry. This is so much better than Philip, okay? Because I think Philip and I broke up. Anywho, so they're gonna be like, "Wait, aren't you with Dave? Aren't you marrying Dave?" I'm like, "Philip's a bird, guys."
This is all bird talk. This is bird stuff.
But so we go to the pet store. I walk past this bird cage, and in the corner of my eye, something was like hopping walking with me. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I walked back and it did it again. I was like, oh. And then I looked and it's like making straight eye contact with me. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're like locking eyes right now. And then it like turned and made its eye like real big, kind of like in A Series of Unfortunate Events when Olaf like turns to make his one eye look really big. So then I looked at the bird looked at me, and then the bird raised its feather and it was like, And I was like, oh, is it trying to like mate with me? And then it raised its other feather and was like, And I was like, oh my God, are we friends? So then I walked to like the other side of the cage to see if it followed me. And it did. Other people walked by the way, okay? It did not follow them. And then it didn't follow Dave, okay? And then I was like, oh my God. And then it was like tweedling at me. I was like, I don't know how to do it. Do it, Dave. You know how to do it.
No, I don't know.
That was beautiful. And so it was like tweedling at me. I was like, oh my God. So then I tested it, right? Because I was like, I must be Delulu or something. So I put my finger out, like it's a glass cage. So my finger wasn't in the cage. But I put my finger like by the glass and it came up to me and it was trying to climb. And then it didn't climb. And then it put its little beak where my finger was. It was trying to like lick the glass. I was like, oh my God, Dave, I can't leave this bird. I need this bird. So then I walked away like to the other side. And then it like put its little claw thing out. I was like, hold me, please. Let me like go on and just hang out with you. I'm like, oh my God, Dave. Oh, and I was like, are we friends? And it looked at me like it answered and said yes. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to go home with a bird today.
I thought we were going to get a bird that day.
And then I looked at the price and it was $800. It was $800.
We just came here for cat litter and
we almost left with a bird. Oh, it was so cute. It was like trying to talk to me and it was like making eye contact and it was like fluffing its feathers, like not like fluffing scared, like it like took its wing and showed me its under feather and like looked at me and was like, you like? It was so cute. I was like, oh my God, we could be best friends. And then when I found out that the price was $800, I was like, oh my God, we're not best friends.
That was the most admiration I've ever seen you show for an animal in my life.
What? I look at Lulu with admiration.
With that amount of admiration?
I think so.
I know he's just around the corner. So that explains. We could talk outside.
You're like, I'll bring a mic. But yeah, so that's a little bird update. No bird updates on Philip.
We didn't take pictures, did we?
Oh my God, why would you remind me that we didn't take pictures of my best friend? He's probably not there anymore.
You found a better home.
No, he would be on my shoulder like all the time.
I believe that.
And then I would be like, oh my gosh, he needs to come like sleep in the bedroom with us. Oh my gosh, he needs to like eat with us. I'd be like, oh my gosh, we can't leave the house because now we have a bird baby. You're like, no.
It sounds fun. You teach it words, I think.
Yes, I would teach it words. I would teach it. That's why Lupin's so unique. I've taught him interesting habits. And then I'd have a bird baby with interesting habits.
And we could put the bird baby in a Jester outfit.
Yes.
And also get a hamster Jester outfit.
No, the bird baby would be into it because the bird baby was already like showing off. It's like wings. It's pretty wings, you know? So then we give it a cute little Jester collar, right? And I was like,
you sound like a pigeon. Do we bring home a pigeon?
No, no.
It was a pigeon. We went to the park.
No, I don't like marshmallows.
The pigeon lady from Home Alone.
No. So, yeah, that was exciting. So, yeah, if you listen this far, you know what? If you listen this far,
get on.
Let me know that you listen this far. I need to know how far y'all listen or care about this bird story. And if you have listened this far, thank you. It means a lot that you care about my bird journey from loathing them entirely to almost bringing one home.
Your whole character arc with this scenario has been an incredible journey, honestly.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And be sure to join us for season 5 that we're working on. And as always, be sure to play games with the ones you love.